prisoners thought he was just an inmate, not knowing he was the new prison warden disguised as an inmate. Welcome to Movie Mix Recap. Please subscribe to enjoy more movie recaps. In today's recap, we see a bus carrying prisoners and arrives at the prison. The prisoners all get down. They are led to a place where they get their hair shaved. A man named Brubaker is the new prison warden, but he disguises as a prisoner. He begins to witness rampant abuse and corruption, including torture of inmates, spoilt food, and fraud. A deranged prisoner named Walter was being held in solitary confinement, but he gets aggressive and Brubaker reveals himself to be the new prison warden, to the amazement of both prisoners and officials. Brubaker then begins to reform the prison, but had several clashes with corrupt officials on the state prison board who have profited from graft for decades. He recruits several longtime prisoners, including trustees Larry Lee Bullen, Richard Dickey Coombs, and former warden's clerk Purcell. But Purcell secretly remains loyal to the trustees. Lianna Gray, a public relations specialist for the governor's office, attempts to influence Brubaker to reform the prison in a way that will cast the governor in a positive light. To improve the prison, Brubaker fires his crooked bookkeeper after he discovers that he had built up a stash of illicit food meant for inmates, but selling them to generate profit. He burns down an illicit pleasure shack on prison grounds where influential trustee Huey Roch and his girlfriend Carol lived. One night, a faulty roof collapses on the inmates. Brubaker discovers that inmates were being charged for medical treatment by the prison doctor, and he angrily throws him out. Brubaker meets with Woodward, a lumber salesman and longtime participant in the prison graft scheme. Brubaker ends the use of prisoners as slave labor and terminates Woodward's contract for purposely pocketing contract money, while intentionally building a poor, uninsured roof. He also allows the formation of an inmate council for inmates to govern themselves. During the first meeting of the inmate council, Abraham, an elderly black inmate still imprisoned 3 years after the end of his sentence, pulls Brubaker aside and confesses that he was instructed to construct coffins for murdered prisoners. Eddie, a sadistic trustee, takes notice, and he, Purcell, and Roch lure Abraham to the medical ward, where he is tortured with a Tucker telephone. Brubaker attends the prison board meeting, where he discovers that many of the members are enraged at the disruption of their graft schemes via his reforms and are uninterested at investing any money to improve the prison. Brubaker gets loud in his arguments and storms out of the meeting. The morning after the prison board meeting, Brubaker awakes and discovers Abraham's body suspended from the warden's residence flagpole. Brubaker immediately organizes the inmates to start excavating the area Abraham disclosed to him. Brubaker then discovers multiple unmarked graves, which contain bodies of prisoners who died violently. Word reaches the governor's office, and Gray, alongside Edwards and a corrupt state senator Haidt, attempt to convince Brubaker to stop excavating graves with the promise of funding for the prison. Brubaker stubbornly refuses and continues the excavations. Roch rudely laments Abraham's confession, and Coombs, knowing Roch's involvement in Abraham's death, threatens Roch, who then escapes the prison and hides out at a local restaurant. Brubaker and several trustees pursue him, and in the resulting gunfight, Bullen and Rao are killed. Due to the spillage of violence outside the prison walls, the board fires Brubaker and holds a hearing about the exhumed bodies where the board continues to lie about their origin. Brubaker walks in and makes a comment about saving taxpayer money by shooting prisoners rather than sending them to Wakefield, which enrages Deitch. Brubaker leaves and Gray follows him, imploring him to compromise, but he refuses to compromise over murder. In the end, Brubaker exits the prison as the new warden. Hardline disciplinarian Polk addresses the prisoners. Coombs approaches Brubaker and tells him simply, "You were right." Coombs begins clapping, and the convicts ignore Polk and approach the fence, clapping a farewell to Brubaker. If you enjoyed this video, please do well to like, subscribe, and comment on what movies you want us to review for you. Also, turn on the notification bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks, and see you in the next video.